Brothers and sisters of the Sanctus, we speak today of a figure wrapped in gold and mystery, a warrior who walks the battlefield yet leaves no footprints. The Sanguinor, savior, guardian, omen. He has no name, no voice, no place among the living, and yet he has shaped the fate of the Blood Angels for 10,000 years. Some call him a spirit, others a revenant, and a few dare whisper that he is something far stranger. Let us examine the theories, the truths half glimpsed, and the histories that hint at his nature. If there is a lesson to be learned from his existence, it is this. Even in the darkest moments, the sons of Sanguinius are never truly alone. But whether that is a blessing or a warning, well, that is for us to decide. So please sit and listen closely. There are few figures in the annals of the Blood Angels' history as elusive as the Sanguinor. His appearances are irregular, unpredictable, and yet invariably decisive. To the warriors of the chapter, he is neither myth nor legend, but an undeniable reality. A golden figure descending from the heavens in their darkest moments, striking with grace before vanishing without a trace. His presence is unquestioned, but his nature remains a subject of endless speculation. The most widespread belief among the Blood Angels is that the Sanguinor is, in some way, an extension of Sanguinius himself. Whether this means he is the psychic ghost of the lost Primarch, an angelic manifestation of his will, or a fragment of his soul-made flesh, none can say. His arrival often coincides with moments of great desperation, as if some unseen force summons him from beyond the veil. The parallels with the visions of Sanguinius, experienced by so many of the Blood Angels at the moment of their death, lend credibility to the idea that he is not wholly of the material realm. Others, particularly those within the Sanguinary Guard, whisper that the Sanguinor is Azka-Elon, the first and greatest of their order. It is known that Azka-Elon remained loyal beyond all else, refusing even death if it meant protecting the legacy of his Primarch. Some believe that he was changed by unknown means, preserved in a way that defies understanding, bound to an eternal duty from which he cannot escape. This theory is compelling in its own way, for the Sanguinor fights with the skill and presence of a warrior who has known countless centuries of war. He does not act as a mortal soldier might, but as something more refined, more disciplined, perhaps something perfected. A darker interpretation suggests that the Sanguinor is a manifestation of the Blood Angels' curse rather than their salvation. The red thirst and the black rage have haunted the sons of Sanguinius since their inception, and some within the Inquisition suspect that the Sanguinor is a psychic construct born of this affliction. They argue that he is not a single being, but a phenomenon, created by the combined will of the Blood Angels in their most desperate hours. This would explain his erratic appearances and his inability to be physically traced. If true, it would make him a miracle of sorts, but also a deeply unsettling one, a being of war and desperation, conjured only when the chapter's suffering reaches its peak. The records of the Reclusium hint at a truth even older than the Blood Angels themselves, stretching back to the time of the heresy and the Imperium Secundus. The idea that Sanguinius may have foreseen his son's fate is not new, but some texts suggest that he prepared for it in ways unknown. Did he leave behind a guardian? Did he bind something of himself or another to the chapter's destiny? If so, was it an act of protection or something else entirely? The Blood Angels are a chapter obsessed with legacy, and there are few legacies more powerful than that of Sanguinius. If the Sanguinor is tied to the past, then he is but a message, one whose meaning remains obscured. Those who hold to the theory that the Sanguinor is an extension of Sanguinius is unlike any other Primarch's history, in that he transcended the mortal plane even before his death. It is known that he foresaw his own fate, glimpsing the moment of his death at the hands of Horus with a clarity that no other Primarch experienced. Some argue that this prescience was not simply a gift, but a sign of something greater. Evidence that Sanguinius was a being of a different order, touched by forces beyond human reckoning. If so, then it is possible that his essence did not perish entirely when his body was broken upon the vengeful spirit. Perhaps some fragment of his soul remained, too powerful to be extinguished but too weak to return in full. This would explain the Sanguinor's ethereal nature. He does not remain with the Blood Angels, nor does he take command of their forces like a living being. He is not a leader, nor a prophet, but a manifestation of something that endures beyond the grave. A presence that cannot truly die so long as the Blood Angels endure. The contrast between the Sanguinor and the Black Rage further supports this idea. The Black Rage is a psychic echo of Sanguinius's final moments, a curse embedded within his gene seed that drives his sons toward madness and self-destruction. If the curse is an imprint of his suffering, then could the Sanguinor be an imprint of his nobility, his righteousness, his final defiant refusal to kneel before darkness? There is a symmetry in this idea, a cosmic balance. If the Black Rage is the embodiment of death and despair, then the Sanguinor is the opposite. Hope given form, a lingering idea to what Sanguinius was at his height, before fate crushed him beneath Horus's shadow. Yet the greatest mystery remains unanswered. Why does the Sanguinor not appear more often? If he is truly a fragment of Sanguinius, why does he not guide his sons in every battle? Why does he not speak? Why does he remain a figure of fleeting intervention rather than lasting presence? Some believe that his power is finite, that he exists on the razor's edge of reality and can only step forward when the need is greatest. Others speculate that he is bound by something deeper, perhaps by the Blood Angels themselves, that he can only exist so long as they remain true to their ideals. If the Blood Angels were to fall completely to the Black Rage, if they were to lose themselves entirely to madness and slaughter, would the Sanguinor vanish? Would the last trace of Sanguinius's nobility be erased along with them? The thought is unsettling, but it fits the nature of his appearances. The Sanguinor does not just arrive in battle. He comes when the chapter teeters on the precipice of destruction, as if he is summoned not by war, but by the desperation of his gene sons. Perhaps he is not a mere remnant of Sanguinius, but a force tethered to their fate, a final safeguard against their doom, a silent guardian watching from the threshold of oblivion, unable to act until the moment demands it. Of course, within our own records, we have come to know that the Sanguinor, while still mysterious, is the herald of Sanguinius, Alatron. If the records are correct, if the Sanguinor was once flesh and blood, a warrior who fought at Sanguinius's side before being lost to the warp. The transformation of an Astartes into something more, something beyond mortality, is rare, and when it occurs, it is often through means that are neither holy nor understood. Alatron was the herald of Sanguinius, a figure meant to speak with his Primarch's voice, to carry his will to the Blood Angels and beyond, and to act as a bodyguard. It was a role of immense responsibility, requiring not just martial prowess, but wisdom, restraint, and devotion to Sanguinius's ideals. The identity of the herald was kept secret, for he was meant to be more than a man. He was meant to be a symbol, an extension of the angel himself. If he was lost, another could take his place. But Alatron did not fall in battle. His fate was something far stranger. At Davin, the same world where Horus fell to corruption, Alatron's path diverged from that of his brothers. He did not succumb, nor did he turn from the Emperor's light. Instead, he leapt into a warp rift, in sacrifice. If the accounts are true, he did so to save Sanguinius, to ensure that his Primarch could escape the encroaching darkness. It is a fate eerily similar to Sanguinius' own, facing an enemy that could not be overcome, knowing that survival meant ensuring another's. In that moment, the Herald of Sanguinius was lost, and in his place, something else emerged. The transformation of Alatron into the Sanguinor raises questions that no Blood Angel, not even their chaplains, can fully answer. The warp changes. It reshapes those who pass through it, warping their flesh, their souls, their very being. No one enters it unscathed. If Alatron was truly reborn in that moment, then what force shaped him? What preserved him from the madness that claimed so many others? The Blood Angels would say that it was his nobility, his devotion to Sanguinius, that in sacrificing himself, he was remade as an embodiment of the chapter's highest ideals. It is a comforting belief, one that casts the Sanguinor as a guardian, a manifestation of everything that Sanguinius represented at his best. The golden warrior who descends in the Blood Angel's darkest hours, the silent protector who turns the tide of battle before vanishing into legend. Such a being could only exist if it was created from the purest aspects of their Primarch. No single truth can be agreed upon, and yet he is undeniably real. He has been seen, he has fought, he has turned the tide of battles. But what is he? This question has haunted the Blood Angels for 10,000 years, and for every theory, there is another contradiction. To some, he is a living saint, a warrior elevated beyond mortality by the Emperor's unknowable will. His golden armor, his silence, his sudden appearances in the Blood Angels' most desperate moments, these are the marks of the divine. Imperial saints have been known to manifest in times of great crisis, their faith sustaining them beyond death, their existence an undeniable miracle. The Sanguinor, in his own way, fits the pattern. He does not age. He does not succumb to wounds. He arrives when all seems lost and vanishes before explanations can be given. And yet, something does not fit. The saints of the ecclesiarchy proclaim the Emperor's will. They speak, they lead, they act with purpose. The Sanguinor does none of these things. He does not declare his allegiance. He does not guide the Imperium. He serves only the Blood Angels and their successors, appearing only in their battles, never elsewhere. A saint serves humanity. The Sanguinor serves a single bloodline. If he is a saint, then he's one unlike any other, bound not to faith, but to blood and to the memory of their gene father. Others whisper that he is not divine at all, but something born from the Blood Angel's own suffering. The warp is shaped by thought, by belief, by the echoes of past trauma. The Black Rage itself is proof of this, a psychic wound so powerful that it manifests in every son of Sanguinius, dragging them back into the final moments of their Primarch's death. If the chapter is capable of carrying such a burden, then what else might they have created? There are those who believe that the Sanguinor is not a warrior, not a ghost, but an idea given form, a manifestation of the Blood Angel's nobility, called forth by their need. He appears only when they are at the precipice, only when their survival depends on remembering what they are, rather than what they might become. This would explain why he leaves no trace, why he does not linger, why he seems bound only to those of Sanguinius's bloodline. The Inquisition takes a darker view. To them, the unexplained is not a miracle, but a threat. If the Sanguinor is a psychic entity, then something sustains him. If he is born from the Blood Angel's suffering, then what if he is not a protector, but a warning? The Ordo Malleus has long suspected that some entities in the warp are not demons of chaos, but something else, something shaped by the will of those who suffer. The Sanguinor fights against the enemies of the Imperium, but that alone does not make him a savior. There are beings in the warp that fight chaos, yet are no less monstrous for it. If he is not a saint, and if he is not merely a construct of belief, then what is he? The truth of the Sanguinor remains elusive. The Blood Angels do not seek to understand him, for to them he is proof that they are not alone. The Inquisition does not act against him, for even their paranoia has limits. And the Sanguinor himself, silent, unknowable, eternal, offers no answers. He simply is.